We just had another moment right before we recorded where Darnell's special phenomenon hit, where he has to read one. He reads one sentence, and the next sentence answers the question.
It's like, that's my fucking anomalous phenomenon. It's like precognition almost. Like I can predict when a question will be answered. I know.
It's your curse.
It's coming.
It's more of a curse.
No, it would be to
look the fool.
It would be a funny article for most of it, right? With like silly stuff, and then the article would end with me being like, "Wait, where's God?"
There was a light from outside.
Yeah. Wait, when's the Mayan calendar end again?
You're like, so they leave the interrogation. And you're like, so I'm alone now, and then it goes, knife guy, no.
Oh yeah, so guys, Tan's been writing for Two Sentence Horror.
Yeah, everyone you see on there is from me.
Yeah, he's made some really good progress.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought you would be more innovative. I thought you would get into 3-sentence horror.
Well, that's not innovative. That's just breaking the rules.
No, it's a new format. No. Like an MTG where there's multiple Hey, we don't have time for this. We have to read.
We have to read before God shows up.
Snow fell. It wasn't... Fuck. Snow fell. It wasn't real snow.
Question. His throat like choked up.
Let me go! Snow fell. It wasn't real snow, of course. The hollow restaurant they'd sat down in had a winter theme active, picturesque snowflakes drifting down around the diners. Children played in the fake drifts, the white mass lagging slightly as they crushed it into non-existent snowballs. A bright blue sky replaced the ceiling. Musashi shivered, and not just from the sight before him. Snow reminded him of Nocturnus, and that was one mission he'd really rather forget. That was the first time he'd become truly aware of his own weakness. "So," he said, voice low, looking across the booth. "What is it you want from me?" The man... what was Jamilu's voice again?
He was kind of like Musashi a little bit, maybe a little bit deeper.
Yeah. The man across from him, the man who'd eliminated the Sasquatch's user, blinked. Now that he'd introduced himself, and now that Musashi got a good look at him up close, it really was obvious. This was Nebula 2 of the Unified Alliance of Planets, Jamilu Aguta. We don't know who Nebula 1 is yet, right?
I've not met him now.
So this is like the second... This is like the top guy, besides the top guy.
Yeah.
Musashi narrowed his eyes. Was it even appropriate for him to be meeting with the enemy like this? So is Nebula 1... Because I know there's not like a Supreme in the fucking UAP. Is Nebula 1 the strongest recorded warrior in the UAP? Or is there like a position higher than the Nebulas?
It's like I am... strength, he would be the strongest, like, under control of the government.
So this guy's like the right-hand man to this... Well, not his right hand, but like the second strongest. Yeah. Okay. The man across... Sorry. Musashi narrowed his eyes. Was it even appropriate for him to be meeting with the enemy like this? Aguta spoke calmly, the fries and burger before him going unnoticed. "What we want for you is for you to just keep doing as you're doing." Musashi raised a skeptical eyebrow. "That's it? Be myself?" A slight smile spread across Aguta's lips. "That's a better way of putting it, yes. We want you to be yourself." "Why?" "Well, we've determined that yourself would make a good Supreme. You're not a warmonger, or, despite how I thought of you originally, a maniac. You're someone who cares about the people, not personal glory. You're not a threat to us." At that last sentence, Musashi frowned. "Are you saying I'm weak?" "No," Aguta replied, without missing a beat. "I'm saying you're sensible." Although the two of them were alone in the booth, neither of them were unguarded. The phases who'd accompanied Musashi to the arena were posted in and around the diner, ready to react to any sign of betrayal. Another Nebula was here too. Musashi didn't recall the number, but the red-haired fellow with the massive shield had been lurking around. That's 5, right?
Yeah.
Then, of course, there was the spear. Musashi's eyes drifted to it. "Interested?" Aguta asked. "I've heard tales of the old demons of the dawn," Musashi said. "They're supposed to be powerful." Aguta chose his words carefully. "They're useful," he admitted. "I was able to locate and eliminate the Sasquatch's user with one of Victory's abilities. Still, making use of them leaves a sick feeling in my stomach. They're a madness born of war, after all. The kind of war you'd wish to prevent. Aguta looked Musashi right in the eye. The Supremacy and the UAP are already at war, he said. By definition, that will always be the case. The UAP is nothing but a unified front against Supremacy aggression. But it's a cold war. A quiet war. Don't you agree that it's best remaining that way? Slowly, Musashi nodded. Needless bloodshed goes against my ideals, yes. That fact is why we seek to support you. Musashi glanced around, making sure nobody else in the diner was listening in. Support me how? I don't want people thinking me a UAP puppet. Aguta nodded. Nothing so obvious. We'd move behind the scenes, adjust events to your favor, deal with threats that aren't so easily eliminated. And in exchange? Like I said. Aguta spread his hands. Be yourself. Musashi's pretty young, right?
He's like in his, he's not younger than he thought he was, but...
Like, the Supreme is a position that, unless killed, is like for life. And people change a lot in their lives. So aren't they worried he would, like, become less himself?
Well, people...
Like, you're not the same person you were at 20, you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't I fucking know it.
Oh, no!
Why are we still here?
I just mean it's a lot of trust to put in him, but I guess maybe they're confident they could deal with it if it comes to that. Musashi bit his lip, considering the proposition. He needed all the help he could get, but having an enemy nation help him? If he wasn't a Dawn contestant, that would surely be considered treason. Could he justify that level of duplicity to himself? Murderer. He steeled himself. He'd forgotten, hadn't he? A toy Musashi had long since lost the right to have scruples. Why? Why? Because he couldn't save the strongest guy from the other strongest guy? Oh my god. You know what? I don't know if you know this, Tan, or if it was intentional.
Okay.
And I know it's kind of pop culture right now to say everything is autism, and I'm not trying to do that. But he really does. He does read that way, at least to me. Like, this is the shit I do, you know? Not, like, obviously on this level.
You failed to save the Supreme.
Well, but, like, I put these intense pressures on myself that I don't put on other people, you know what I mean? And I think that's why people like him so much. Like, that resonates,
he just
right?
like me for real.
Like that idea that you have to hold yourself to a higher standard, that you have to be better, that you have to earn more than everyone else. Like, kindness to others, but not to yourself kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's extremely relatable, at least to me. It's what really makes him stand out for me. But it's also so tragic, because we as an objective viewer can be like, Musashi, what the fuck? It's not your fault. You have to let the accident go. Like, what? What the fuck was he supposed to do? It's like it would be like if he was like, I promised I'd keep Marabella-chan safe, and a fucking meteor hit the planet. Like, what can he do?
I should have blocked it.
I should have parried. The alleys of cities were North's domain. He'd been born in them. Come on, you missed an opportunity. Come on, Tan. You know what you have to do.
I'm not doing it. It's not me. It's serious.
You're a hack.
Why? Because I
Not
didn't
really.
do
You're actually the opposite of a hack, but it feels wrong to see born in them and not molded by them after. He'd been born in them, grown up in them, conquered them. There was nowhere else he felt as much at home. It wasn't the alleys of one particular city that welcomed him. No, it was all of them. Urban veins and arteries linking and blending together across the galaxy like a far-off macro city. I almost said macrocity, like atrocity. I see. Excuse me. It is macro city, right?
Yeah.
They welcomed him easily. He was the kind of bacteria that responded well to their filth. He walked from dark to dark without hesitation. He's got the meow.
It's a roof saying it.
Oh. Dragon! Well, perhaps just a tiny bit of hesitation. As the shout echoed through the alleyway, North turned his head. He was just in time to see a hulking figure clad in twisted lupine armor crash down to the ground before him, red aether and burning orange hair. It didn't take a genius to work out he was looking at Ruth Blaine. Dragon! She said again, her voice warped into ferocity by the shape of the helmet. Well, North wasn't such a shitty Umbran that he couldn't match the voice of a guy he'd spent the last 2 years around. He let his lips spread into the calm smile Dragon favored, and raised his eyebrows just a tad. Oh, this is so evil. Dan! He's North, he's gonna say some fuck shit. The kind of forced calm you crafted to hide your surprise. Ruth. So this is Dragon's voice, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to do the North voice.
It's like everyone's like, Ruth, how's it going?
Hey, Ruth, what's happening? Ruth, he said coolly. It's been a while. Another footstep, this one from behind him. Impressive. It wasn't that many people who could sneak... It should be there weren't that many people.
Okay.
There you go. There weren't that many people who could sneak up on North. He glanced over his shoulder to see who the lucky winner was. Blonde hair and glaring eyes. That face belonged to only one person. Well, 2, technically. Or was that 3? North grinned. Hello, Serena, he said with Dragon's voice. Or is that Bruno? See, that's how they should know. Dragon would know the difference. He just would. Right?
Makes sense.
Bruno's glare deepened, brow knitting together. Who are you? He growled. Purple aether cracked around his shoulders menacingly. North blinked. Huh? You're not Dragon, Bruno said, certainty dripping from every syllable. Who are you? Whose mental is this?
He's running through, like, a possible line in his head, North.
What do you mean? It's been 2 years, Bruno. People change. Did you think I'd just stay as I was when I first met you? The world isn't that kind, I'm afraid. It kinda sounded like something Dragon would say. Would it work? It might. Skipper's crew had always been a bunch of bleeding hearts, with the exception of the man himself. Those glares, though. Well. North wasn't a sore loser. He knew when he was rumbled. Translucent aether surged silently, the mask of light lifting from Dragon and revealing North's face underneath. A second later, the clothing flickered away too, business suit replaced by North's casual wear. He offered the pair a cheeky grin. Been a while, huh? There was a moment of silence, and then... I'm gonna fucking kill you, Ruth promised. Now, come on, North teased. Is that any way to greet an old... Ruth Blaine wasted no time. In one swift moment, far too quick to be reacted to, she seized North by the collar and slammed him hard against the brick wall. North gasped as the air was forced out of his lungs, his legs flailing in empty air as he was lifted high. Little too tight, he wheezed, prying at the metal fingers around his throat. You could see Blaine's golden eye glaring furiously from within the recesses of the helmet. There wasn't much leniency in that gaze. The hand around his throat was a vice. Not the best situation to find oneself in. But it could always get worse. Bruno whipped a hand out and pressed the tip of an invisible sword against the side of North's neck. He winced as much as was safe. Answer our questions, Ruth growled, or I kill you. I'm not joking. Get in line, Bruno hissed. Sure! North gasped, lifting his hands up in surrender. Come on! Have a heart, guys! The two exchanged a glance, and the pressure around North's neck relaxed, just a tad. How long have you been impersonating Dragon? Bruno demanded, the accusation clear in his eyes. So that was where he was coming from. Just a couple hours now, North said truthfully. I'm just standing in for him at the opening ceremony. He's got better places to be. Don't worry, man. I didn't kill him and steal his identity, if that's what you're worried about. The chokehold returned. And we know that how? Ruth said, her voice soft. A pained grin returned to North's face. Because your old pal North is telling you, of course. I'm Hadrian's partner in crime. Bullshit, Bruno spat. Hey, it's true. You don't think your buddy Dragon would do this kind of stuff? Nah, Bruno shook his head. I believe Dragon would do it. I just don't think you'd help. Last I checked, you and he weren't exactly best friends. Oh yeah, didn't he like screw Dragon over in Arcade?
He did, but then they teamed up a little bit in the last fight.
Right.
But then North snuck out of the arc and wasn't mentioned again.
Beautiful. Well, North chuckled. I guess you could say this guy knows his audience. You know your audience. North chuckled. I guess you could say we're friends with benefits. Ruth's eyes widened behind her helmet, and she forgot her rage for a moment. Huh? He pays me to be his friend, North clarified. You know, a salary? I'm on retainer. I'm a useful guy to have around. He's a smart guy, that Dragon Hadrian. Bruno put a hand to his chin, nodding slightly to himself. Looked like he was convinced. That was good news. Maybe they'd all get out of the situation with unsnapped necks. The heist on the Providenza, Bruno finally said. The take from that. That's how he's paying you, right? Hey, you're pretty smart, too, North casually lied. Wow, he's just like Dragon. He used to say lines like that, casually lied. You're dead on the money. He came to me right before the melees began. Offered me a whole heap and help of cash in exchange for my, humble assistance. How could I say no? Ruth pulled him closer, his face inches from that warped metal visage. A better place. You what? You said Dragon had somewhere better to be tonight, she continued, and that's why you were taking his place. But he's been preparing for the Dawn contest all this time, right? There's no way you just skip out on it after all that. You're full of shit. North rolled his eyes. As expected of Ruth Blaine, she'd locked onto one of the only pieces of truth he'd given her, and judged it a lie. Some things never changed. You know where he is, Ruth pressed on. You know where he's going to be, and you're telling us. We're seeing our friend. As he was held aloft there in the alleyway, he spread his arms wide, as if presenting himself to an audience. You're pretty dense, huh? He said. Careful now. No, but you are, aren't you? You really think all this crap means anything? Pledges and matches and frickin' pomp and circumstance? It's all for show. Everything real happens behind the scenes. If you know what you're doing, the matches are just formalities. The results are already determined. He had that thing, didn't he? That mantra? The only one who decides what happens to me is me. North liked that. That's what your pal Dragon... That's what you... You added it before I could say it. That's what your pal Dragon's doing, he continued, a trace of passion entering his tone. He's determining, and I'm damned if I'm going to let you guys distract him from that. Ruth's glare intensified and her grip tightened once again. You don't have a choice, she rasped. North smiled. Oh, Ruth, I've always got a choice. He chose violence. Oh, that goes hard. Nightmare Underground! Cathedral at the World's End. That's all his ability, right?
Well, Nightmare Underground we didn't do before, but it was a different sub-ability he used with it.
Okay, so those are both him.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick drink of water. Actually, popcorn.
So, Musashi said, leaning back in his leather seat, if I'm going to believe you intend to help me, I need proof. What assistance can you give me right here and now? Aguta raised an eyebrow. What kind of assistance? Musashi did not blink. That burden is on you. For a moment Aguta frowned, but the corners of his mouth slowly turned up again. Information, for one. That's easy enough. Learning about your enemy is halfway to defeating them, don't you think? Slowly Musashi nodded. And what information can you give me? Nail Mandarin, Aguta said. The one they call the King of Killers. He's been quite active tonight, and I expect he'll continue being active for many nights to come. We've got quite a bit of information on him. Go on. Originally from Hex K, Aguta said, steepling his fingers on the table. I don't expect you to have heard about it. It's in UAP space until around 2 years ago as a Lilith world anyway. They practice a rather unique form of Aether usage there. The Sasquatch? Musashi asked. It didn't take a genius to work it out. Something like that construct had hardly been a common ability. Aguta nodded. They're called guardian entities. Gene Tyrant leftovers, recorded, altered, until there's something quite a bit more formidable. We believe the Crimson Carnival came across a ship full of those leftovers, and Mandarin taught them the method. That's how they become so powerful so quickly. And how is it you know this? Our ultraviolets are quite thorough, Aguta replied. The GID aren't the only intelligence agency in the galaxy. We have quite a bit more information on your other enemies as well. Are you interested?
Oh man, that's a cool... I like ultraviolets because it also sounds like ultraviolence.
I have to admit, I do believe this was first mentioned in one of the Aetheral Space fanfics, so I did steal it.
Which one?
I think it was... I'm not sure which one. I think it was Sovax?
It had to be Downpour, because I don't... Yeah, I was going to say I don't remember it in JTA's, and I know it's not in mine. It's got to be Sovax. I think it was from Sovax, yeah. That's good.
Musashi considered his next move for a good long moment, staring into his counterpart's eyes. He'd be a fool to throw such an opportunity away, but could you really trust this man? How did he know that Nail Mandarin, for instance, hadn't been given the exact same pitch? Before he could come to a decision, however, the communicator in his ear beeped. Morgan getting back in contact, no doubt. Musashi kept his eyes on Aguta as he tapped his ear. This is Musashi, he said. Morgan's voice was distorted, but more than that, exhausted. Commander! He gasped, pain lurking in his breath. Immediately Musashi sat up. Morgan? What is it? The next words dragged Musazi's heart down into his stomach. It's the air. She's gone.
No, this is his big chance. If he saves her, she'll know that he means well and his heart is pure. This is surely things will get better as time goes on, right? It won't get worse. Oh my god. This is Tim. What is your inspiration for Aetheral Space?
What do you mean? In general, all of it?
So you know, like for example, I don't know if you heard, but with JJK, Gege said his inspiration was a Kame ga Kill, and people were like, "Oh no." I need to know where this is going.
A little bit of Star Wars in there, like I've always said.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Hunter. There's a bit of Hunter in there.
Good.
A
Things
bit
get better in
JJK,
Hunter x Hunter,
maybe.
right? Oh no.
Bit of Berserk in there. Warhammer 40k. They just keep getting darker.
I'm trying to think of something darker than that. Oh man.
A bit of
of
All
Steins
Quiet
Gate
on the
Zero.
Western Front.
Bro. Oh man. Hang on. Alright, so we have a question, I believe.
Wow.
Let's see. Let me go back.
What is the question?
I'm trying to pull it up. I keep accidentally clicking the Aetheral Space roleplay. Here we are.
He wants the roleplay so bad.
Wiser asks, Dragon did Oh, sorry. No, Knight Labbits asks, can you record someone else's Aether construct and steal it? Or is it sort of, that's not your Pokemon type rules?
You would have to be tricked out, but you could technically do it. You'd have to sort of like overpower it. Like, you'd have to put more effort into recording it than they did into making it, basically.
Wiser did mention Dragon kind of did that by Gemini shotgunning a penetration swordfish.
He did that, yes.
That means Dragon had stronger Aether after that long than 5th Ed?
Well, it's not just stronger, but he put more of effort into the recording than he did into making the swordfish.
Interesting.
But that could also be because it's just an efficient ability.
Interesting. So there are some downsides to efficiency. So, like, if you make something more efficient and streamlined, you might get more out of it and make it easier on yourself, but then the enemy can fucking nab it.
Yeah,
if they're
you
clever.
lose some of the protection.
Ooh, interesting. It's such a numbers game with Aether. How do you even... What is... So, I do have a... Here's my question, lore-wise, right? Now, realistically, in most magic systems, I strongly am against quantifying. It makes it too complicated,
I'll
makes
tell
it
you
too
right
scientific.
now,
But
I am never going to include in the story. I'm never going to be like, "Oh, Musazi unleashed 1,000 Aether."
yeah, I was gonna say, but with how
In universe,
number
though,
specific,
places like the Absurd Weapons Lab, they would have a numeral system.
that's what I was gonna ask. So, just like there's joules for energy, what is the measure of Aether? How do they try and measure it anyway? At least to their understanding of it. What's the technical
measuring
term?
systems in the Absurd Weapons Lab? You would have they're usually named after like the people who made them. There's like derricks. There's mules. There's Morns. There's different ways of doing it, and they like one Morn will be. They're usually incompatible though because they're usually sort of ego projects as well.
Right. Okay, good. And I'm glad you're never going to use them because I don't think you should. But I was like lore-wise, there's got to be one with how many things are like, I have more Aether, therefore I get to do this. There's got to be like and like he can channel more Aether. Like this had to be some kind of measurement. Spirit orbs. Key. Okay. Well, we have one more, but I'm going to save it just in case there's no more questions for tomorrow's. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye.